Good morning, all, depending on when you're watching this. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at the return of a banned card. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Sneasel from Neo Genesis was so gosh darn good in a day that it was actually banned for being so good. It's back now, and I tell you what, I think it could be a really good Pokemon this time around, because I don't know how many of you know this, not the first time this card has come back. So the initial story then, essentially, the old Sneasel from Neo Genesis, 20 damage, flip a coin for each Pokemon in play, 20 damage for each heads. So you did an average of 80 damage, a maximum of 140, as early as turn 2, no weakness, no retreat cost, and the context here is that the next kind of good card we had with minimal drawbacks was Electabuzz from base set, which did 30 damage base, 40 on a coin flip, and Sneasel's just infinitely better than that. It was over the top good. Now, Sneasel was actually reprinted in Heart Gold Soul Silver Undaunted. It had gained a fighting weakness, and the resistance had gone from minus 30 to minus 20. Other than that, the exact same card. Nobody cared. It's all basically no play. Well, it's coming back again in Champion Road. That is, of course, a set which is reprinting a whole bunch of cards from the EX and Neo Genesis eras. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, unlike the reprint in Undaunted, I think this could be a really, really good card indeed. Now, first of all, it's got 60 HP, which is very, very low. And yes, I know we can potentially use Level Ball, but even so, it's very, very low. Level Ball, by the way, is inexpanded or if it gets reprinted. But not only that, it's got a weakness to fighting, which is a weakness to Buzzwole. Which means if it's in the active, Buzzwole will get an easy one-hit KO without any kind of damage modifier like Strong Energy or Diancie Prism Star. And even if you're on the bench, it takes just 2 Jet Punches to KO you, using the residual damage when you're chilling on the bench. That is far from ideal. And also, you've gained a retreat cost. The one from Neo Genesis had free retreat as a basic. The one from Undaunted had free retreat as a basic. Free retreat on a basic is great, as we've all been seeing with Tapu Koko. I am not a fan of this getting a retreat cost. Boo! It does have a resistance to Psychic, so that's stuff like Espeon, GX, and Garbodor. The resistance to Espeon really nice, because they're doing 10 damage plus Confusion. Resistance to Garbodor means they need 4 items in the discard rather than 3. That's not going to make much difference. But it is a Darkness type Pokemon, which means you've got Reverse Valley and you've got Devoured Field, both of which will allow you to do an extra 10 damage, which is nice. And then of course it's pairing really nicely with stuff like Zoroark, meaning you can actually use the Break or the GX attack, although we do expect the Break to be rotated about a month after this comes out. But I tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, I think the second attack here could still actually be a great attack. Now, the translations here come from the lovely David Hochmann over at LimitlessTCG.com. To be fair, these are old reprints. If you know what the old card does and you just look at the numbers, you can pretty much see what the new card does. But shout out to David for being a lovely chap and getting the translation. And what it does, for 2 Darkness Energy, you flip a coin for every Pokemon that you have in play, and you do 30 damage for each heads. Now, on average, you're going to hit 3 heads, which means you're going to be doing 90 damage, 100 if you use Devoured Field or Reverse Valley, 130 if you're using a Choice Band on an EX or a GX. That is easily enough to KO something like Dawn Wings Necrozma, which is weak. And that's the average. What you could do here is flip 6 heads and do 180 damage. That's enough to take down something like a Tapu Lele, for instance, or a Drampa. And then, of course, if you were to add in a Devoured Field or a Reverse Valley, then that's 190. So stuff like Buzzwole and Duskmane Necrozma going down. Then, of course, if you add a Choice Band instead of that, you're up at 210, so stuff like Zoroark or Golisopod go down in one hit to a single prize Pokemon. Now, obviously, it's a 2 energy attack. The 2 energy is a real pain in the neck, but it's really not the end of the world here. First of all, you've got Max Elixir. Now, this could be a bit of a pain because you're likely to want to play double colorless energy for stuff like Zoroark or Zoroark. But if you play enough, you should hit the odd Max Elixir here and there. Obviously, in Expanded, you could use Dark Patch. And actually, in Expanded, you could go really nuts here and use Skyfield. Then you would have 8 bench Pokemon, meaning you should expect to hit 4 or 5 heads and do 120 or 150 plus Choice Band. That's an average of 150 to 180. That's GX KOing territory. And a maximum here of 270. Now, admittedly, flipping 9 heads is pretty difficult, but if you can, 270, 300 with a Choice Band. Now, bearing in mind, you generally only need to hit 6 heads, 180, 210 with a Choice Band. So you need to hit 6 out of 9, and in Expanded with Skyfield, and don't forget you've got Dark Patch, this could legitimately be a good Pokemon. Pre-evolutions generally don't get their own videos analysing all the good things they can do. Sneasel does. In the standard format, you should be hitting 90, plus the Stadium, plus Choice Band. But in Expanded, you could legitimately be hitting like 210 for 2 energy, and you've got Dark Patch in Expanded, which helps massively. But the other card we've got here is Counter Energy. Counter Energy is really, really good, because it's 2 of any energy when attached to a non-EX, non-GX, and you're behind on prizes. So if you attach a Counter Energy to Sneasel here, you need to be behind on prizes, but for 1 energy attachment, you can be hitting really big damage. Now, in theory, you then even up on prizes or go ahead, add a second energy and you're off. I mean, your opponent could play an Enhanced Hammer to get rid of the counter energy after you attack, but let's be real, ladies and gentlemen. You got 60 HP. You should never be expecting to survive more than 1 turn with this Sneasel. It's very unlikely to happen, even when they're drawing badly. I mean, a Tapu Lele with a double colourless energy will get an easy KO here. You should not expect to survive for more than 1 turn with Sneasel. But we don't really have a good Darkness-type attacker to use with Counter Energy. Cobalion works really nicely as a Metal-type attacker, and Shaman works really nicely as a Grass-type attacker, and we've got attackers for other types, but we don't have Darkness at the moment. So instantly Sneasel goes in for that. So you can use Counter Energy, you do decent damage in Standard, but in Expanded you can actually use Skyfield and Dark Patch to really go nuts. And I do legitimately think that if you're playing a Darkness type deck in Expanded, you're sticking a couple of these in as a legitimate attacker. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, coin flips. Victini. Use Victini, you can reflip. You're still probably not going to hit 6 out of 6 even with Victini on the bench, but Victini allows you to reflip. You need 3 heads and you hit 2. Use Victini to reflip. Hedge your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you could flip fewer on Victini unless you hit 0, but that's okay. Victini at least gives you another roll of the dice. Now, Sneasel's other attack here, it's not good. 1 colourless energy, flip 3 coins, 10 damage for each heads. I mean, maybe at some point you come across a pre-evolution that's weak to darkness, so you flip 2 out of 3 heads and get a KO. I don't know. It's not all that likely, to be perfectly honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. But what does need to be mentioned before we end the video today, we've got 2 good Weavile in the format at the moment. There are 2 good Weavile, both of which have come out in the Sun and Moon era, which could see play. So if you're playing either of these Weavile, and the Ultra Prism one at least has seen quite a bit of play and success in the game lately, I don't think it's a question as to which Sneasel you play, because this Sneasel could be a legitimately good attacker. We got the one from Burning Shadows that hasn't seen much play, 1 colourless energy, 60 damage to each Pokemon that has an ability, yours and your opponent's, although it has seen play. And the really good one is the one from Ultra Prism, 1 darkness energy, 50 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon that has an ability. Now, it's still got a really pitiful HP and a weakness to Buzzwole, but that's a really good attacker, and Sneasel's got a really good attack. I legitimately like Sneasel. This isn't me filling time with a video. I really do believe that this Sneasel is a good card. And I do believe that in Expanded with Skyfield and Dark Patch in any Darkness deck, it really is a legitimate you should play it could win you games attacker. And even in Standard, fine, alright then, it's not the best attacker ever. But I really, really do believe that it's a good enough attacker to win you games and to swing matchups in your favour. It's a basic Pokemon. You should probably play a Victini with it. But it evolves into really good Pokemon. It doesn't take that much energy. And it works with counter energy. I like it a lot. I'm giving Sneasel 4 Wassies, and I might be going over the top here, and I am perfectly comfortable doing so. If you're playing a Weavile deck, it's a no-brainer. If you're playing a counter energy deck, it should definitely be considered. If you're playing any deck with darkness energy, I would put this in. I really honestly would. Oh, and as a quick side note here, if anyone was wondering how Weavile from Neo Destiny was flipping 20 for each heads and averaging 80 when 3 out of 6 is 60. Back then they had special darkness energy, so you put 2 special dark on, hit 3 heads on average, and then that would be 80 damage. Special dark did an extra 10 damage to all of your attacks for darkness Pokemon. There we go. But I want to hear what you think about Sneasel, ladies and gentlemen, so go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. Tell me if you're excited about this. When it came back in Undaunted, nobody cared, it wasn't good. I think that might have changed now. But maybe that's just me. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do check out my other channel, Wassie Plays, where we are 10 people away from 1,000 subs. Go on, hook a Wassie up. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.